You don't notice it at first. Watch what happens the next time money gets tight. One of you hesitates before spending. The other starts explaining things that never needed explaining. Small decisions start carrying weight. Conversations feel different, not louder, heavier. And without realizing it, you're not just talking anymore. You're negotiating. What used to feel shared starts feeling separate. What used to be easy starts needing justification. And that shift right there, that's where the relationship begins to change. Not when something breaks, when everything starts being calculated. It shows up in small moments you wouldn't normally pay attention to. You open your banking app and hesitate for a second longer than you used to. You think twice before bringing something up. You start calculating things that never needed to be calculated before. It's not a big shift at first. It's subtle, but it repeats. Conversations that used to feel automatic now feel like they have weight behind them. You choose your words more carefully. You explain decisions you never had to explain. And without saying it out loud, both of you start adjusting. Spending becomes something to justify. Choices become something to defend. And over time, that changes the tone of everything. What used to feel shared starts feeling separate. What used to feel easy starts needing justification. And the more it happens, the more you notice something else. You start holding things back before they even become a conversation. You stop suggesting things you're not sure will land well. You begin filtering yourself in ways that feel small in the moment, but add up over time. And that's where the shift deepens, because now it's not just how you talk to each other, it's how you think before you even speak. And nothing happened. There's no clear moment you can point to, just a slow shift in how you relate to each other. And the easiest conclusion is that the relationship is becoming strained, that something between you is off. But that's not the full picture, because what you're reacting to isn't just tension between two people. It's a change in the structure that used to make everything feel simple. And once that structure starts shifting, everything built on top of it starts behaving differently. What's actually changing here isn't just the situation, it's the way decisions are being processed. When money becomes tight, every choice starts carrying more weight, not just financially, but psychologically. The margin for error feels smaller, so your brain starts compensating. You become more cautious, more deliberate, more focused on avoiding mistakes than moving forward. And that shift doesn't stay contained to spending. It spreads into how you communicate, because now every suggestion has a cost attached to it. Every plan has a consequence. Every disagreement feels like it could make things worse. So without realizing it, both of you start minimizing friction. You soften what you say. You delay certain conversations. You avoid pushing too far. And at first, that looks like cooperation. It looks like being careful, being responsible. But underneath that, something else is happening. The relationship is slowly moving from shared decision-making to negotiated decision-making, and those are not the same. Shared decisions feel natural. Negotiated decisions feel weighted. They require justification, explanation, agreement. And the more that shift happens, the more your interactions start to feel structured instead of spontaneous, controlled instead of natural, because you're no longer just relating to each other, you're managing outcomes. And once that becomes the default, the tone of the relationship changes, even if nothing is said out loud. Once that shift happens, it doesn't stay at the level of decisions. It starts changing behavior. You speak a little less directly. You wait a little longer before bringing things up. You test the tone of a conversation before you fully enter it. And none of this feels intentional. It feels like you're just being careful. But that caution starts shaping how you show up. You begin prioritizing reactions over honesty. You measure how something will land before you say it. And over time, that creates distance without either of you deciding to create it. Because now you're not just responding to each other, you're responding to what the situation might do next. That anticipation changes everything. It removes ease. It replaces it with awareness. And awareness, when it's constant, becomes pressure. So even normal interactions start feeling heavier than they should. You notice pauses that weren't there before. You feel tension in conversations that used to be effortless. And the more you notice it, the more you adjust, which deepens the shift even further. Because now the relationship isn't just changing in what you say, it's changing in what you hold back. And what you hold back is what creates the space between you. As this continues, the roles inside the relationship start shifting without either of you deciding to change them. One of you begins carrying more of the pressure, watching spending more closely, thinking ahead more often, trying to prevent things from getting worse. The other starts reacting to that pressure, either pulling back, becoming quieter, or pushing against it. And now you're not just two people dealing with a situation, you're two roles forming around it. One stabilizing, one adjusting, one anticipating, one responding. And once those roles take shape, they start reinforcing themselves. The more one person monitors, the more the other feels monitored. The more one person tries to control outcomes, the more the other feels limited. And that tension doesn't need conflict to grow. It builds in small interactions, in tone, in hesitation, in how decisions are approached. Because now every interaction is influenced by pressure that isn't being named directly. And over time, that changes how each of you sees the other, not just as a partner, but as part of the problem you're trying to manage. And that's where the distance becomes real, not because something broke, but because the dynamic underneath the relationship has changed. At this point, nothing looks obviously broken, but everything feels slightly off. The same conversations happen, but they don't land the same way. The same routines exist, but they don't feel as stable. You start noticing patterns. Certain topics get avoided. Certain decisions get delayed. Certain reactions feel predictable before they even happen. And over time, those patterns start stacking, not in a dramatic way, but in a consistent one. Small hesitations turn into longer pauses. Simple conversations turn into careful ones. Shared decisions turn into separate calculations. And the more this accumulates, the more the relationship starts to feel structured instead of natural, like you're both operating inside something rather than freely within it. And that's where the distance becomes noticeable, not because either of you chose it, but because the conditions around you have been shaping it the entire time. You start feeling less connected, even if you're still physically close, less aligned, even if you're still making decisions together. And that feeling is hard to explain because nothing clearly happened. But something did. It built slowly, quietly, through repeated adjustments that changed how you relate without you realizing it. This is usually where people start looking for a cause. They think something emotional shifted, that communication got worse, that one person changed more than the other. But those explanations come too late, because by the time you're noticing the distance, the mechanism has already been running for a while. What actually changed wasn't just how you feel, it was how money, decisions, and pressure and uncertainty started moving through the relationship. Money didn't just create stress, it changed how both of you process choices, how quickly you respond, how much you filter. And once that shift happens, everything else starts adjusting around it. Your tone changes, your reactions change, your expectations change. And slowly, the relationship stops feeling like something you're both inside together. It starts feeling like something you're each managing separately. That's the part most people miss. They try to fix the distance directly. More communication, more effort, more awareness. But the distance isn't the starting point, it's the result. The actual change happened earlier, at the level of how pressure entered the system and reshaped how both of you operate inside it. And once that's in place, everything that follows starts making sense. So it doesn't feel like a single moment where things broke. It feels like something that slowly became different. You're still having conversations, still making decisions, still sharing space, but it doesn't feel the same underneath. Because what changed wasn't just how you feel about each other, it was how the relationship processes pressure. Once money started carrying more weight, every interaction started carrying more weight with it. And that changed how you speak, how you respond, and how much of yourself you bring into the relationship. The more pressure there is, the more both of you adapt, and the more you adapt, the less natural the relationship feels, not because either of you decided to create distance, but because the system you're inside no longer allows the same kind of ease. And that's why it's hard to fix once you notice it, because you're not just dealing with emotions, you're dealing with a structure that has already shifted.